Hello and welcome to Sega News Bits. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello everyone.
And we are going to be talking about Sega West finally kicking off the Sega 60th anniversary, Go Sega as we call it. And there were hints that Sega in Europe and America were going to be doing Go Sega stuff because we did have the IDW Sonic comics with the logo. We had some Sonic the Hedgehog action figures with the logo. And if you have eagle eyes, if you know the difference between your Sega blues, there was a Western blue and then a Japanese blue, and they did have two separate logos. It looked the same, but it's a different blue. So the fact that that exists and the fact that they made this big announcement today tells me that they have been planning this a while. I believe behind the scenes they had to hold off because of the whole pandemic, but it seems like now they're finally kicking it off because the year's almost over. And technically anniversaries are on the date, not on the year, so I'll cut them some slack too. They can carry this into 2021 if they want. But what was the announcement? So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing 60 days of, events. So there's going to be Let's Plays, competitions, employee interviews, and content covering the company's history. I don't think we're going to have like big announcements every day. Probably don't expect like them to announce the new Sonic game or something like that. It's going to be more Sega Europe handled things, as is evident by the Sega 60th website, which spends a lot of time telling you when European releases are. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
And I don't mean to hate on it, but it's so like Europe-centric to be like, look, oi up, it's the blue swirl it is, and it's like, yeah, we get it, guys, yeah. But it was red swirl everywhere else, and then, or orange swirl, whatever the hell. And then on top of that, they'd be like, the Dreamcast released in 1999, or 1998, or 1999 in Europe. And it's like, well, what about America? It's a little thing that bothers me. I don't know, I feel like they could do a little more work to include America when they do these sorts of things. And outside of that, there's a Steam sale. Did you see the Steam prices out there, George?
Yeah, I glanced at it. I mean, I have everything Sega already, so to me it's like, oh, that's cool for people that don't have everything Sega on PC.
Yeah, I know. Me too. They were like, the Sonic bundle, $50, and it said, you own all but two of these games, which is like Sonic Forces and Team Sonic Racing. So, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need that on Steam. But what is very exciting is outside of these Steam games, as well as giveaways and like free trials that they're having. I think you can play 2 Point Hospital for free right now. They have 4 very special mini games, and this was announced, and it took, I think, both you and I a little time to figure out like what the hell this is, because I was thinking, are these demos? Like, what is this? And a press release went out, and what it is they are, for the most part, new content from Sega for us for free. And they're going to be releasing these every day from the 15th to the 18th. And once you own it forever. However, you can only download these between the 15th and the 19th, depending on what game it is, with the later games having a shorter window. Do you think that's fair, George?
Yeah, it's like a special digital gift from Sega on their 60th anniversary to tell people, look, I was there during these days where they had these promotions. And it's and it's free, so it's not like they're just selling it like the Mario 3D All-Stars, whatever the collection's called, for like 6 months. They're giving it away for 3 days, and it's part of this bigger event celebrating the 60th anniversary of the company. I think that's fair enough.
Absolutely, and just so people know, you don't need to own like a high-end PC or a gaming PC. As long as you create a Steam account and you download these games as they release, they are yours forever. So don't think like, oh, I have a Mac, they won't play, or oh, I have an iPhone. Like, you can log into Steam and you can get these. And the cool thing is that if you link your Steam account to Sega to receive like emails from them for the 60th, you will get Nights into Dreams for free. And I actually didn't own this, I realized, so that was a nice little gift. But finally, here's the main event, George. All right, so let's go through these 4 games, and then we'll share our thoughts after I name each one. So the first one we have here is Armor of Heroes by Relic Entertainment. This is a retro-inspired multiplayer tank romp They're showing their British side here with that romp. For up to 4 players in versus combat and couch co-op. And this is available from the 15th to the 19th of October. What do you think of this game?
I think it sounds interesting. I like the 4-player co-op. I do like Relic. They're usually just doing mostly... they're versatile studio, but they're known for their RTS games. But they also did the Space Marine game, a third-person shooter. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the top-down 4-player co-op shooting game. So I'm definitely going to be checking... I'm going to check them all out, but I'm going to check this out because this is an interesting one that it's not based on an old Sega IP. It's just its own thing. All the other ones are based on IPs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually one thing that kind of didn't turn me off from it, but just kind of made it seem less exciting. Like of all of these, this one, it doesn't really call back to Sega's past at all. It's just kind of like, here's a Company of Heroes arcade game, which I guess is nice. The closest thing I could actually think of was, and I've mentioned it a few times on our Sega Talk podcast, is Super Boom Tread Troopers, which was a giveaway 4-player tank battle game in the official Dreamcast magazine. So while this is clearly not a callback to it, that's the closest I could get. The next one, I feel like, is the sleeper star of the 4 of them. You might disagree, but for me, like, when I first read this, Endless Zone, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, it just looks like a space shooter. But then when I read about it, I realized, oh, this is Amplitude Studios. I guess they have a franchise called Endless, which I have not known about. And they combined it with Fantasy Zone. So this is, and I'm kicking myself because we just did a Fantasy Zone episode of Sega Talk, but I guess if we do a sequels and spin-offs, we can talk about this in the near future. But it's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up from Amplitude, but it's basically following the Fantasy Zone rules, and this is available from the 16th to the 19th. What do you think about this one?
This is pretty cool. I played some of the Endless games. They're definitely too complicated. Like, it's one of those games you have to read a lot and like look at your graphs and stuff. And I'm just not in that mindset usually when I'm playing games, so I never got too far on it. But I really love the atmosphere. I love the music. So this is what I agree with you. This is the sleeper hit of here because like fantasies. I'm assuming they're just going to be using the Endless assets and ship designs in a like Fantasy Zone, game, but that's pretty clever of them to do. So I'm interested in playing this for sure.
Absolutely. I think the one that really got a lot of people excited, a lot of those like classic Sega fans and modern Sega fans, this is really cool, brings everyone together. It's called Streets of Kamurocho, and this is from Sega. They didn't really say who exactly made it, which kind of ticked me off because I'd like to know. And apparently there's a story behind it that the Sega West guys were kind of hinting at. I'd love to hear the story behind it. But basically it's Kuro and Majima from Sega's critically acclaimed Yakuza series raging through the streets of Kamurocho. Am I saying that right?
I think it's Kamurocho, but I guess it's the same.
Okay. In a new but familiar challenge. And this is available from the 17th to the 19th. And this is basically Streets of Rage Yakuza, which I feel like people have been wanting for a long time.
Yeah.
And so this is really awesome. And for a year where we got Streets of Rage 4, like, to get this as a freebie, and it's completely, from what I can see, it's completely separate. It looks like new assets, probably a different team. I could be wrong. What's your take on this?
I thought that the graphics kind of reminded me of like Project X zones or something, like the models, but I don't think they're the same models from that. I mean, especially from the 3DS, where it's just like 3,000. I mean, it's like super tiny pixelated images. Right. This looks great. It looks a little obviously low budget, but it's a free game. Like we said, it's not a full game. It kind of reminds me of like, when I first heard this, I actually thought it was going to be that they were going to be skins for Streets of Rage 4 as a free DLC for the 60th. And that got me excited, but this looks pretty cool too, its own little thing. And I hope they add it in like a future Yakuza game, like as an arcade game.
Absolutely. That would be really cool. So this last one, this is the big one, at least for, I think, you and I. So this one's called Golden Axe by Sega, and it's actually
so funny.
A retitled Golden Axe Reborn or Sega Reborn title from 2013. So back in 2013, or maybe even earlier, Sega Studios Australia was creating what they wanted to have be a new franchise of retro Sega games remade in 3D. So kind of like the Sega Ages 2500 line on the PS2, but I think it would have had more crossovers. It would have been like new like sequels rather than just straight up one-to-one remakes. And what was kind of surprising here is that if you read the description on Steam, they actually drop some new info that we didn't know about. So basically it says here that this was a single level proof of concept, what's known as a vertical slice, and they dubbed it tongue-in-cheek Golden Axed. And it's funny because they say it may be janky, it may be buggy, but it's an artifact of its time. So they right there, like Sega themselves are kind of slamming it. But it offers a glimpse into the prospect of a project that could have been in a rare peek behind the curtain at a sometimes tumultuous world of video game development. Now wait, I'm reading this now and I don't... Oh, here it is. At the top it says here, so what this was going to be is Sega Reborn series. But what's interesting is it says these included 2.5D reboots of Golden Axe, Altered Beast, and Streets of Rage, as well as an endless runner version of Shinobi. And they say here it was all encompassed in a universal hub world. So George, do you think this implies that it almost would have been like a single release like Nintendo Land with a bunch of mini games?
Or maybe like you keep on buying into it and it has like a hub world, and every time you buy a new game it adds a new piece to the universe of Sega. That's kind of like what I thought, because when we broke the story and this prototype broke back in 2013, we posted about it, and one of the guys that worked at Sega Australia contacted us in the comments and talked about how that's the first time we ever had the info that it was supposed to have a shared universe. He never talked about other games that they were going to do, but he did say that they were supposed to be in the same timeline, like its own Sega universe. And
that's interesting.
So the idea would kind of be that like Sonic took place at the same time as Streets of Rage, but at a different time period or in a different world, or so that would have been pretty cool. And it's kind of like futuristic thinking. I guess they just kind of copied the Marvel movie, but it was kind of in its early stages.
Now, it is worth pointing out too, this was around the same time that the Sonic 4 games were kind of around, that Sega Studios Australia was making that Castle of Illusion remake, and all of that was not only releasing to consoles digitally, but also to mobile phones. And so I have to wonder if this was a game that they were hoping to release to like tablets as well, which is why it looks a little low res, kind of low-fi, at least even for the era itself. And I think the idea of a hub world kind of solidifies that, because then it would be in-app purchases. So you would download the Sega Reborn app on your phone or on your console, and then either as they release or whatever you want could be downloaded through that. I feel like when they said an endless runner version of Shinobi, that immediately screamed mobile phone game to me.
Oh,
what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Same here. When I saw that, I was like, oh, well, okay. They had some ideas. They were like, all right, like the prototype looked like it had some like, the basic structure of what a, Golden Axe game is, but it was obviously just there to show off to Sega to get funding for it.
Yeah.
But like a endless runner Shinobi game, I have to say I'm good on. But I can't wait to play this Golden Axe, since we have like a history with it, and you can see the prototype video on our channel that we posted a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
and now people are commenting on it, and they're like, because they just saw this news, and they're like, doesn't look that great. And I'm like, dude, be happy you're getting it. You were not allowed to play this until this week, so chill out. So I'm trying to see. I think that covers the news. I mean, we've got another 60 days. I very much doubt we're going to have big news dropping from this, but who knows? They do have some theme weeks coming up. They do have... It does look like Sonic has been saved towards the end, at least for the Steam sales, and it looks like they kind of tie in developer interviews and things like that. So who knows? Maybe they'll be ending the year with kind of a kickoff of Sonic's 30th, and maybe do some game announcements via that. I don't know. But until then, I'm really looking forward to this, and who knows, maybe we'll do another one of these once all 4 games are out. We can talk about our thoughts on them, and maybe share a little more information about Golden Axe if we learn it. So what do you all think about Sega's 60th anniversary plans for the West, and which of these 4 games are you looking forward to trying out the most? And don't forget to get that free Nights into Dreams game, and if you like our content, check us out on Patreon. That's not Sega's 60th, but it's Segabit's 10th. So, we're celebrating too.
Bye.